What's up? No, there's nobody here right now, but basically, we had a live stream scheduled for 1 p.m. EST today, and ended up having some more tech issues. We're trying to do basically like a Zoom, and we were going to use separate machines to make things a little bit easier, and also just try a different format, and have us able to like more have a conversation with each other, because like when we're sitting like really close to each other, it's kind of hard for like us to be like addressing you guys and like talking to each other at the same time, so it gets a little weird. And so we were gonna try like being on separate machines, but we're figuring out like, okay, like if we're close to each other, then her mic's gonna pick up my voice and vice versa, and it creates like an echo and a feedback loop and a bunch of stuff. So there was that, and like the Wi-Fi hasn't been working right. We need to get like a new router, and like we had a bunch of stuff going on, and also we're both processing Heilkunst healing reactions, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, briefly. I'm not going to stay on here too overly long today, and we are going to address. We're gonna do the human design presentation either sometime this weekend, or we can wait till next Friday. If we do it this weekend, I will make sure that like I post up, because I figured out finally how to schedule the lives ahead of time. I think some of you might have seen that. I will post it. I'll give at least like 24 hours advance notice so that like people can see that it's going to be upcoming, and we'll go from there. I'll talk about me personally. I'm in the middle of an opium remedy, and people get a little confused about this every time I mention opium. It's not like you're not actually taking the substance opium. It's an energetic packet, and it is the energy of opium which strongly resonates with the emotion of fear. And so I've been processing out a lot of fear. It's actually been a pretty easy packet for me. Ever since I did some heavy miasm work over the last couple of years, and there was one particular one like 2 years ago that I did, and I think it was the Metarainum packet, which, I'm going to be making videos about all of these. I've talked a lot about the syphilis miasm, and real briefly, again, same thing with that. You're not taking a syphilis packet because you have syphilis. You're taking a syphilis packet actually because like someone in your ancestral line had syphilis, which like basically for anyone who's like Northern European, it's like pretty much you're gonna have some of it, right? But it's a genetic predisposition towards disease states that are passed down through the generational lines due to one of your ancestors having some sort of pathogenic disease. And there's like, I think they've identified like 8 chronic miasms. And the originator of all of them is called Sora, and I believe syphilis is actually related to Sora. It's a very dark energy. So anyway, after doing a syphilis and Metarainum packet, a couple of those, things really started to lift, and the remedies got a lot easier. My original remedies, like when I was doing the Heilkunst video logs, most of the original emotional remedies, which there's 4 main emotional remedies, and sometimes you take them all together, which is called an NSOL packet. It's Natrum muriaticum, Staph aureus, opium, and lachesis. And the remedies were extremely tough for me to get through. The amount of emotional energy that I was purging and moving through was insane, and sometimes taking the packets like was totally unbearable, and I would like often like retreat into like hermit mode because I couldn't handle being around other people, and I felt like I was not myself also, so I would like try to like isolate myself so that I didn't like so I wasn't a jerk to other people, or didn't like, you know, cause drama or say things that I couldn't take back and stuff like that. And so, um, I think, you know, Sydney is going to come on here and talk about her experience with Heilkunst as well, but I'm going to let her do that. But we're both processing emotional energy right now. One of the things that happens with Heilkunst is something called occurrence, and it's related to the topic of synchronicity. And one of the things, I'll give a stark example of an occurrence. Like 3 years ago, I took an opium remedy, right? It was an opium remedy for fear, and we were addressing a point in my timeline where I had been to a facility that basically scared the crap out of me, right? And so I'd taken all my timeline packets back to that point in time, and this event came up. It was the next thing on the list, and I took the remedy, and 3 days later, I got a phone call from someone affiliated with that organization, and I went like full panic mode. Like I just really lost my shit. Like, and it was just so crazy how it was like, wow, I just took that packet. Like I haven't heard from these people in forever, and like I take the packet, and I get a phone call that scares the crap out of me, like immediately, right? And at this point, like that's happened so many times. The situations have reflected like the packets that I'm taking so many times that to me it's proven itself like completely. It's completely proven itself. Like this is a thing. This is real. This is how it works. You know, this is how all healing works. One of the things that I'm going to try to really make a good set of videos about is what's known as the law of succession of forces, and it has to do with the way that that healing works and the timelines play themselves out, and the way that your being essentially moves through these energies. I'm not seeing anybody in the chat, so I don't know if it's that nobody is saying anything or if I disabled the chat. I don't know. Hope I didn't disable the chat. Well, either way, I'll just keep rolling. Like I said, I'm not going to stay on here too long. But I am going to talk a little bit about this. Oh, okay, cool. Hi, Adam. Thank you for popping in. Hi, greatest ever. How's it going? Good to see you again. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know that the chat's working. So yeah, I'll talk about the packet that I just took. Like I said, with the Heilkunst timeline, you start from the time that you go into treatment, and then you work your way all the way back to birth. And they really want you to write out an entire timeline. They want you to write out every single thing that you've ever been through, including emotional trauma, physical trauma, if you broke a bone, if you got a bad cut, if you had a loss, if you were really scared, dental work, any medications that you've been on, especially like vaccinations and, you know, any type of poisoning. There's a lot of different things that can go on a timeline. There's even a few things that I can't even think of right now. But anyway, one of the things that was on my timeline was that I'm trying to figure out exactly how long ago it was. I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago. I was really trying to kick opiates, and as I've shared, I at one point was addicted to heroin. And to try to get off of that, you know, I was doing all of the things that Western medicine had to offer. And eventually, after none of those things worked, that's how I found this path. But one of the things that I tried was going to the methadone clinic. I later found out that that was probably one of the worst things I could have ever done, because that stuff is absolutely poison. Like it's unimaginable that they would give that to people to get them off of opiates. The reason they give it to people is because it's like so strong, it's ridiculous. And it has such a long half-life that it stays with you. So basically all it does is it keeps you high all the time, so that if you try to do other drugs, like, you don't feel anything, because your body is already flooded with opiates. Like the receptors are already like totally flooded all the time. and it like totally burns out your like neurotransmitter systems. It like makes it so that like honestly after that like I really could never ever like really feel like quote unquote like high like I used to, which I guess was sort of like a good thing. But I mean, I also knew that's because it was like severely screwing up my neurochemistry. It also like prevented me from like accessing and feeling like good feelings from like normal things. It made it so that things had to be like really extreme for me to feel good. Like even just things like coffee, like I have to drink like way more, you know. I can't just jog a couple miles and feel good. I got to jog 6, like every day. So it kind of took someone who's an extreme personality and made me more extreme. Um, but anyway, so I'm addressing the point in time. Yeah, I took methadone. So I took a methadone remedy, which, oh, hi, Steph. Thank you. I took a methadone remedy, right, which is not taking methadone. Let me be very clear about that. It is taking an energetic packet that is addressing and purging the energy of methadone. And upon taking this, a bunch of currents started happening, like a bunch of synchronicities, a bunch of, like, when I'm looking at the situations and the people and the dynamics that are occurring for me right now, a lot of it is very, very identical to that point in time. Um, and so it's been like I'm living my life backwards. And I've noticed this for probably about the last year. I'm playing out timelines that were negative for me backwards in the reverse order in order to heal them. Um, and so it's really, really strange because I'm not really good at like journaling and stuff. And I wish that I had really documented this because like it's so stark, and it's so obvious that that's what's happening to me, but it's difficult for me to recall everything that I need to and articulate it in the moment when I'm making a video. um, it's been a little bit tough with this particular set of circumstances in the past year and a half to really articulate everything that I needed to. There were quite a few people interfering with us that were making it really hard for us to speak at all, because they were just able to create a lot of drama for us, and like it just made it really hard to get started with anything, and then like feeling like you're tiptoeing around, saying like the actual truth about your experience in your life, because like, oh my god, like what if that person sees it, and like what's going to happen with that? Like, are they just going to like totally like try to interfere and screw everything up because you said one little thing that they didn't like? So it's just like, it's been a journey for sure. So Adam, reading your comment, I kind of know the feeling. My dopamine receptors are coming back to normal after I've lowered my daily intake of amphetamines from 80 to 90 milligrams, coupled with my nicotine patching of 35 milligrams daily. Well, I just first of all want to say, like, good for you for like dropping that down. One of the things that I advocate, is like harm reduction, right? I think that for a lot of people, depending on the types of energies that they're in, like if they're having addiction problems or something like that, it's actually unreasonable to expect them to immediately cold turkey things. The fact that society has this expectation of people and then punishes people when they can't immediately succeed at that, which almost nobody does, is really insane and absurd. So I commend you for just making an effort and moving in the right direction. And yeah, when you're taking like high doses of anything that affects those neurotransmitters, and you're constantly taking them all the time, it totally prevents you from being able to experience like the normal range of emotions, experience normal energy levels. One of the things that's like very obvious is if you drink a lot of caffeine. There's so many people that like drink a ton of caffeine all the time, and like they've not been caffeine free for so long that they don't even know what it's like to be caffeine free. And what they don't realize is like they're drinking that caffeine trying to like get their energy up, right? And they're doing that all the time. And the fact of the matter is, if they were to completely detox from it, their energy level would be much higher, much more sustainably, like all the time. Yeah, law of diminishing returns. Exactly. If you're not doing something like that, like moderately and occasionally, like in the beginning, like when you first start doing it, like it feels awesome and like it's, oh man, I'm so productive. Like probably like somebody who like started drinking coffee for the first time ever in life, like they'd have an immediate like boost, right? That's what happens with people that like take drugs and stuff like that. Like when I first started taking oxys, um, it would make me work like you wouldn't believe. Like I would be like so productive, it was insane. Until my life started revolving completely around them, and then like everything just went to shit, right? But even something like coffee is the same way. Like in the beginning, like somebody starts doing that, and like they get this boost from it, right? And then more must be better, right? And so they just keep drinking more and more and more, and like actually it has a reverse effect after a period of time. Um, Sentinel says, started energy drinks in 2005. I'm just now kicking them. Man, I hate this chat on here. Advice to everyone reading, never start. I mean, that's what I tell people about drugs. The boost of Adderall was great for the first 2 to 3 years. Then it started requiring more to get a little less. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And it has a lot to do with like your neurochemistry and your metabolic pathways and how your body processes it. And yeah, it's such a thing that grabs you, because like in the beginning, like there are so many positives from it, and like of course, I'm sure you guys know, like over time these things start to build up in your system, and you start getting the negative effects more and more and more until it reaches a point where you're like only getting the negative effects. You're not even really getting the positive effects. So yeah, but to get back to the Heilkunst remedy, like it's crazy, like the stuff that I'm noticing in terms of the synchronicities and occurrence in my timeline, and it's really interesting how this is unfolding and processing out, and I'm really enjoying documenting this. I'm enjoying proving this. Like to me, it's like completely proven. Like I can see it all totally clearly. Like it's just like wow. The crazy thing is like, and I guess I'll switch gears for a little bit here. I've done like a 180 from 5 or 6 years ago, and it's like people can see that, and then when I explain to them like how I did that, it's like their eyes just like it's like they check out and they're just like, does not compute. Like, oh, you did something outside of like the normal scheduled programming. Can't be real. Sounds like a bunch of woo-woo fairy dust to me. It's like, yeah, this is how I did it. This is how it works. Like I can explain like pretty much every angle of it, and like you try to tell people about it, and they just like the implant, the neural implant, just like totally stops them from like caring or giving a shit. Like that's I don't need that. Like I don't know. I have a hard time with all this. Like my original like energy that I made the channel with was like this anger at Western medicine. Like I'm gonna prove that like I can fix this and I can actually like heal PTSD. Like I can heal, addiction. I'm not gonna label myself an addict. Like, I was really angry about it, and I really had something to prove. And I'm still kind of doing that a little bit. Like I still look at people and I'm like, I really just want them to acknowledge that like what I'm doing works. And I'm getting to the point where they will acknowledge that like I've gotten better, but they will not acknowledge for the most part like, hey, this thing you're doing works. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think that a lot of people try to chalk it up to placebo effect, and it's like, okay, let's talk about placebo effect. Why is it that everybody like just writes off placebo effect? Like, oh, it's just the placebo effect. Like your response should be like, oh my God, it's the placebo effect. What is that effect? How does it work? How is it that you can do a mock surgery on someone's knee and the ligament regrows itself? That's amazing. Why don't we study that? Oh, screw that. It's just the placebo effect. So backwards, man. This is the way like people are taught to think is so backwards. Hi, Crystal. Yeah, the lights are on and nobody's home. They're just checking out. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, I am gonna talk. Like I said, I'm not gonna stay on here long today, but I am gonna talk about like what I'm seeing in the world a little bit from my perspective, One thing I will just talk about right now, people are like so tense and so touchy and like so on guard. It's nuts. I used to have 2 to 4 Red Bulls a day back when I was working an office full-time job and going out drinking after. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, you don't. I don't know many people that can do that after about age 30. I'm a 6'2" projector with an undefined heart center. Having constant energy is something I wasn't designed for. Yep, yep. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about when we dive into the human design stuff. Sorry we didn't get to do that today, but yeah, different people are different, and the funny thing is like there's like one subset of types that like society values, and like they hold aloft, and like anybody who doesn't fall within that is like shamed for it. And it's like some people just aren't built that way. There are people that can do a manual labor job 100 hours a week, and then there are people that just can't. Like, it's not like it shouldn't be a point of shame for them that they don't have that type of energy. And if you look into things like human design, you find out like why that is. Sentinel, the reason the placebo effect works is because as the new thought movement 100 years ago figured out, but got much else wrong too, mind has a real effect on biology. Absolutely. And then if you get into, just waveforms and scalar waves and things like the Rife machine, you get into epigenetics and genetics and like how that actually works. And like if you start looking into like the higher level like Atlantic science information, you start looking at like how the different frequencies actually interact with the being. You find out that it's all sort of like a reflection of thought on some level. Like it's all mind essentially at some level, which is also mentioned in like Hermeticism and the Kabbalion. 31 years old and discovered human design about 3 months ago. It's explained the last 10 years of my life. I'm looking forward to your videos. Yeah. Like I said, Sydney is the human design. What's the word I'm looking for? Aficionado. I only know what she's explained to me about my own chart, basically, and like I know what the basic types are and stuff like that, but she knows it a lot better than I do. But what she has explained to me, I'm going to admit I've been a little bit lazy with it because I had someone with me who could just explain it all to me. Like anytime anything would come up, she'd just be like, oh yeah, it's this and it's that and it's this gate and da-da-da-da. So I just didn't really like get too into it. I was also not really in research mode the last year, but all the things that she explained to me, which she also knew really well, most of it because our charts are really similar, really helped me out. It was very similar to like when I got my first real astrology reading. Like I had somebody do like a full workup, a full chart, and like it really explained a few things that like I was just like, wow, that it makes sense. I will mention like one thing right off the bat, and this one like really messes with me, is I have an open like ajna center, which is like the third eye, which is I think like why like I would see like timelines in my mind, and I would have visions, and I would like have crazy dreams about different things happening and so on and so forth. I would see things happen before they did. One of the other effects of having an open ajna center is that I can very, very easily see and tune into other people's points of view and how they see things. And that can be a real problem because it like makes you like make excuses for other people because you can always like see why they're doing what they're doing. And it's been like a really big problem for me. Like I just like totally like let people walk all over me. It's not just because of that, but it's a big reason. It's like I could always like look at someone's behavior and be like, well, they're just doing that because they're traumatized because of A, B, and C. And so, but there's good parts of that as well. As someone who's like wanting to do coaching and healing work, like it can really allow me to put myself in your shoes to a degree and like see how you see things. And I think also like it allows me to tune in with the people, like even on the video, right? I can tune in with the people that are here. I can tune in with the energy and be like, okay, there's someone in this audience that like needs this explained in this particular way with this type of metaphor because they're a visual learner, or this person needs things explained in a little bit of like a a more poetic way, or this other person, they need the technical mechanical details, like, you know what I'm saying. And I can kind of tune into that with people, and I have the ability to explain things in a lot of different ways. So I think that that's part of why. And so that's just like one example of something that was like really useful to me. It was like really useful information that she gave to me, right? And that coupled with I've been basically just Western astrology is the only one that I've really taken a dive into. I have gotten a little bit into some Vedic stuff. I really like KRS Astrology. He's pretty cool. I got his book. I'm checking that out right now. Adam, I also got my first natal chart astrology reading about 8 months ago. Human design is looking at astrology in an orthogonal way, making you seek answers for questions you didn't know existed. What's orthogonal? Can you define that? I like it when people use words I don't know. But yeah, it did actually do that in terms of like making me ask questions that like I wasn't even aware of. Yeah, it puts you in like a totally new framework of like how the world works, like how our bodies work, how does our psyche work. You can explain things that like, yeah, didn't even occur to you. So it's really cool. I think these tools are really important for, self-mastery, to know thyself. It's a math thing. Let me see how to explain it. Sorry, I'm an engineer. Engineers. I've cursed the name of many engineers because I've been an auto mechanic. Man. Oh, jeez. You should see the way they design cars. It's really frightening and terrible and infuriating. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, kind of got onto human design a little bit. But yeah, I'm totally cool with going with the flow too. So if you guys like want to drag this in any direction you want, like feel free. If you feel like you have a question or whatever, like I don't care. I'm probably gonna be done here in a couple minutes just because things didn't really work out the way we'd planned today, and I told you guys I was coming back at 1:45, so I wanted to make sure that I did that. But we will either be back this weekend, and maybe instead of doing a live, we do a pre-recorded. We could also do a premiere where we pre-record it, and then we come on live, and I can chat with you guys and answer questions in the chat, and that would be kind of cool too. Orthogonal means a 90-degree right angle. It's an abstract way. It means like to flip something and seeing it from an angle. That's cool. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a good word. I'm gonna try to remember that one. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be making more Heilkunst related videos. I still have not actually registered to go to the school. I'm gonna go to the 2-year sequential treatment school. That particular, like I'm gonna get that particular certification, which allows me to actually do what my Heilkunstler is doing with me, and then there's like 10 or 12 more years of schooling I can go to after that if I want. I've got to get her permission, but I've got some very interesting information to share related to, I guess I'll say, some of the needlecraft. And a friend of mine did some of her own work with, let's say, just a microscope, and found some interesting things. But I want to clear it with her and make sure it's okay for me to use that material. But about a year ago, I talked about doing heavy metal detox and a bunch of different things. Strongly suggest detoxing, even if you didn't go get it yourself. There are things spreading person to person. So, by the way, Joe, I've also been watching Mel's videos since 2018, and I'm just now validating some of the stuff he was saying back then. Man was from the future. Yeah, dude, like the old man. I fucking love that guy. He was great. He was so like crotchety and he was such a geezer, dude. Like, but he knew what he was talking about. Like, he was just like Tired of all these tarot cup and T card ladies fucking it up. This is how twin flames work. And if you don't like it, get off my channel. I respected that dude so much. I didn't agree with every little detail of what he said, because like everybody's working within different frameworks, but like the basic like meat and potatoes of what he was saying like was so like on point. Like, it was just accurate. It's like, this is how it works. Stop trying to like, you know, put a square peg into a round hole, and like just flow with what's going on. Like, these energies are coming up, you're interfacing with them, it's designed to show you something. Like, stop making it like it has to be this one person, or like, you know, your world's gonna be over. Like, allow what's next to come. Like, you know, and that's what I've tried to say for like the last 2 years. It's like, stop fixating on one physical person. It's not helpful. Stop watching tarot readings like obsessively. It's not helpful. Start doing the inner work and like looking at like, why is this coming up? What am I supposed to learn from this? How do I deal with these emotions? Like, how do I purge these emotions? Find protocols to do that, right? And you know, when you do the inner work, like, things will start shifting on the external. And maybe that same person does their work and like they come back and you come back together, or somebody new shows up. And like, I can promise you, like, when that new person shows up and like everything's all sunshine and butterflies in the bubble love phase, like, it's gonna be great. And like, you're not gonna be worried about the other person that you were so fixated on before. So just like, let it go, dude. Let's see. I've got more humor than many of you youngsters watching some of you playing with a short deck. Yeah, he was funny, man. Here we are again. It's just everything. And he had all these like just freaking dad jokes that were just like, it's just like, I would laugh because they were so not funny. Like, it was like, man, that's a dad joke. And yeah, it's Gold Ray Twin Flames. His name was Mel Brand. And yeah, he did pass a couple of years ago. But yeah, he was one of my favorites, and I still watch some of his videos occasionally just to remind myself, and just to you know, because I love the old guy. He said, if you ever hear me referring to anyone, if you ever hear me referring to the old man, that's who I'm talking about. It took me a decade to detox from all the flu shots we got at work. They made me chronically ill, had an infection every 3 or 4 months. I don't get sick anymore. If I do, it's minor, it passes quickly. Yeah, I mean, different people respond differently to them. Some people can take them and they're like pretty okay, and other people take them and like they end up being like autistic. Like, that's, you know what I mean? It's one of the primary cofactors of autism. It's a book called Autism: The Journey Back. You can download it on PDF. I have it on Google Drive if anybody wants a copy. And it talks about 5 different case studies of Heilkunst and autism, and they've had a significant success with treating autism. In some cases, able to get like, you know, full remission of symptoms. Other cases are a little bit more complex. Each case is different. The underlying factors in each case is different, but they've had a lot of success with it. I would say it's quite different. Kurt is all about the Eastern stuff, most of which I don't personally resonate with. No. Kurt, no. Yeah, Gold Ray Twin Flames is not like Kurt. Basically, Kurt's information comes from, and he'll never say this or admit it, but it comes from, what's her name? Twin Flame. What the hell's her name? So the basic foundation of his information comes from, I'll think of it, but basically, no, it's not Teal Swan. It's I'll find it. It's on my phone. And I mean, it doesn't really matter, but what he's teaching is an exact copy of this person, El Hari's channel, which is, let's see. I want to tell you guys the channel so that you can see it. And there's some truth in this information, but there's also problems with the information. It's way too mechanical, and it's not. The thing about the twin flame dynamic is that everybody's dynamic is different. Like there's different paths. There's all roads lead to Rome. Like there's not one formula. Their whole thing is like basically like totally shutting down your emotional center, and I like really disagree with that. Like I just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna become the observer and like become egoless, and like they're these emotions are just like things, and like they're not me, and like I don't really resonate with that. I think that each of us has an individuated soul essence, and I think that as we mature, we bring the ego with us and merge that with our higher self, like our 12D avatar self, or the higher density versions of ourselves, and we actually conglomerate the other incarnates and identities and ego identities, merge them together. That's what the twin flame process is. It's part of that ascension stair step process, right? You're actually merging the two ego selves into the higher self, and the way that looks is like meeting a physical or multiple physical forms of that to interface with, in order to have that happen. That's why like we're having the telepathy and the emotional resonance and the parallel timelines, right? Like I'm doing something and like she's doing it at the same time, or like she thinks something and I do it, or all these things. It's literally merging. You're merging with the other person. And anybody who's not experiencing that is not experiencing a twin flame dynamic. It's pretty much that simple. Most people are not experiencing twin flame dynamic, so they're not going to get that, and it's not going to make any sense to anybody who hasn't actually experienced it. Like when you actually experience this, you're going to be like, holy shit, they were right. I can't explain this to anybody. Everybody's going to think that I'm crazy. Yeah, the regular folk are going to think that you're crazy, but it's fine. We know. We get it. Don't worry about them. They're not on your journey. They can't see what you see. They're not going to see what you see. Like, don't worry about it. But yeah, Kurt's information is straight up a copy of El Hari mixed with some like Eckhart Tolle and like some, I think somebody said some Taoist type stuff. It's really Eastern. I'm not saying that he doesn't have some good things to say. And yes, it's El Hari is Be With Your Twin Flame. It used to be something else. I've read like all 4 of her books. So when I saw Kurt, who's started after her, I was like, wow, that's like exactly what's in El Hari's book. And he's sitting there saying that like he came up with this himself, and he's the only one teaching authentic twin flame information and all this stuff. He says a lot of stuff that I'm just like, okay, dude, But it's so weird in the twin flame community. It's like everybody thinks that like they're the ones that have the fucking magic formula and nobody else could possibly have anything of value. I really dislike that. The twin flame community is full of a lot of bullshit. I don't get involved with it. There's a lot of people that have a lot of good things to say. Everybody's got pieces of the puzzle. Everybody's got things that have worked for them. And some of those things might be different, and they might be even the polar opposite from somebody else. It doesn't make it necessarily wrong. What I'm saying might work well for you, and what Kurt says might work well for you, and my stuff doesn't, or vice versa, right? It's not important, some of the stuff when you get into the more technicals and like what is a twin flame, and like, how does, is it impossible for it to happen this way? When somebody says, yeah, no, it can't possibly happen that way, that guy's full of shit. Well, maybe they don't know everything they think they do. Yeah, not to mention a lot of these twin flame experts aren't even with their twin flame. Sure, yeah, there's that aspect of it. Now, you could make an argument for the fact that the person astrally, interfaced with their twin flame. If their information is accurate, that's really what matters, But certainly it does create a lot of more credibility, like if you're actually physically with that person, and that's what people want to see. People want to see you be the example. Talking about it's great, and if you're teaching stuff that's true, talking about it can be fine, but a lot more people are going to listen if you're actually doing what you're talking about. That's why I took a break for a while. I wanted to put my money where my mouth was and actually apply the knowledge. Anyway, I'm going to be done today. It looks like it's going to be raining a little bit out here. I really do like doing the video with this. This is a big vine behind me. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back with Sydney, and we'll do the human design thing. We got charts printed out, and it's pretty cool. Got a chart here on some like laminated paper, and we're gonna go through the whole thing, and we're gonna do a screen share with Zoom. We're just probably gonna like take some time to set it all up. I'm working like a part-time job, and she's also looking at part-time work, and we got a lot of things going on. So when we start having technical issues last minute, it's really kind of a pain in the ass. And all this technology, this great technology, it's like supposed to make our lives easier, but it like never works right. Does anybody notice that? Like it never works right. There's always like some kind of problem. Like it's never what it's supposed to be. But anyway, I'm gonna hop off, and I just wanted to say thanks to all of you who are here. This has been a cool conversation, and the last part of this, talking about like the ins and outs of twin flames, this is really what excites me. This, like, for whatever reason, like I feel like I understand this the best. I feel like I've got a lot of different perspectives on it because I've been to those teachers. I've talked to Patricia McNeely, a Blu-ray twin flame from Chicago, Illinois. I've spoken to her. I've gone to Kurt's stuff. I actually did sign up for his thing, and then I didn't really like go to too many of the meetings, but I read El Hari's book. Like I've read a lot of this information. Like I know what you're talking about, and I feel like I have like a totally different perspective on it coming from the Keylontic science angle. I hope that like there's other people talking about this, and I think that there probably are now. A few years ago when I was looking at this information, like I couldn't find anybody else that was like correlating those things together, but I feel like there are now, and that's really cool. And if you're someone who's like looked at all of that, and like you've looked at the Keylontic science information, and you feel like we could collaborate and contribute, like I'd totally be down for that, because I would love to talk to somebody else who can like sort of see what I see. But I'm gonna communicate what I see. So I haven't really had a chance to do that. I'm gonna do a better job at that. Just need to make some more videos. But anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now. I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for being here and watching, and we'll see you again soon.